Alright, you bastards, this is Some-Belgian-prepper. Excuse me. And today we're going to talk about 28 years later, and we're going to talk about an analysis on what they did good, what they did bad, about the gear, and some of their strategies. So, but before we start doing the analyze, if you're interested in survival courses in Belgium, there will be a link to my website, survivaltrainingbelgium.be, and also to my book called Bullet Crosses. So if you're interested, take a look. Alright, so 28 years later was an interesting movie. It could have been worse with all the woke shit lately in the movies, but there were still some questionable ways the movies went, and about the survival aspect of it we're going to talk about now. So the first thing that I noticed is the primary weapon that they use is the bow, and there are several reasons for this. The first one, of course, yeah, these are highly infectious zombies, yeah, infected actually, and you don't want to get near them. So you cannot even use a blunt weapon or a slashing weapon in case they are getting too close, and some drops from a cut of a blunt instrument will splatter in your eyes. So you want to keep distance. So that's the reason why they usually use longbows in their movies, and that is actually also because it take place in England, and the longbow has a long tradition. And another benefit of the longbow is it's one solid piece of wood. So a lot of modern bows are made with layers of glued pieces of wood to make it more flexible. I will show you what happened. So that is, for example, one of those modern bows, and I don't know if you can see it, but it broke in two on the places where several pieces of wood have been glued together. And in a country where it's often wet or very moist, very misty, yeah, the problem is glued bows can just crack open very quickly. That's also the reason why the Mongol bows could not work in deeper into Asia, where it's very moist because of the muson. So that's already a good point in the movie to use long bows in that regard. What I also notice is they almost don't have no other weapon, uh, because they probably never needed it, because yeah, if an infected got to you very closely, there's almost nothing. It's like a death sentence. Another way that they use the bow is because the longbow is because they don't have any other means of weapons. Ammo, you cannot. They probably scavenged all the guns and ammos that they already had, and it will be hard to manufacture even simple weapons without basic tools, which are, yeah, very difficult and dangerous to get in this movie setting. What I would have liked to see better is, and it is something that I would more likely do, is use something like a spear, like in combined arms, because you can have a few guys with bows, and if the enemy is getting too close, you can use a spear to at least keep them at a distance, and that is usually also in splashing distance, that from the moment they are starting to vomit or splash some blood, you at least have some distance, and you can protect the bowman while they are firing arrows at the ones that are still coming. So you can have at least one pin down on the ground while your fellow archers are firing at the other incoming infected. What also would help is, because these are rage infected with the rage virus, they could just go through it. So like with hunting spears from the medieval time, with boars, for example, they would have some sort of crossing that even when a boar would impale himself uh, onto the spear, that they would at least be stopped at a point and not get further to get to the hunter. So a combined arms is what I at least would do when the bowmen are behind me. I can puncture one and keep them at least on the ground till they have reloaded or are able to help me or fight off the other infected. Uh, Another thing that I noticed is the lack of camouflage. In the first instance, I can understand there is not much room for camouflage, because like camouflage clothing, like from military stores, camping stores, hunting stores, or whatever, they are probably not reachable, or they already have been scavenged by other people. So that's the reason why they probably wear all the clothing that they could find. Like the father in Aaron, I think his name was in the movie, wore a red jacket and blue jeans, kind of pants. So yeah, but at least if you don't have those uh, camouflage clothing, at least cover up your face with cloth or with some mud or at least some charcoal to make it black, because these infected can see from very far away, and we humans, that's the reason that there is a sort of effect that if you look at the clouds you see a face, or at the moon you also see a face. That's the reason why humans can identify another human from very far away. So you have to make your face black. I made a video about this, by the way, on this simple camouflage trick, and that way you will be less visible, less likely be spotted. So make at least your face black is what I'm trying to say. uh, Another thing is that I saw is they sometimes got into open terrain, which is not a good idea in my opinion, because in the movie the father and the kid were spotted by uh, by a group of infected with an alpha from far away. So stay at least uh, close to the tree lines, and at least that way, if you're in the tree lines, you will notice this effect. If you go into the forest, outside of the forest, you cannot see between the tree lines, but from the moment you're in the tree lines, you can see further away between the trees because of sunlight, shadow, that kind of stuff. So if you go into the open, you're all right. You can see infected coming from far away, but yeah, if they are after you, they can see you, spot you from far away without the camouflaged face, and they will come after you anyway. So at least if you are within the tree area itself, you can at least be very carefully walking between tree to tree, looking around, listen. You will hear the calming of echoing within the trees itself. So at least you have a chance in my only experience. Another thing that I noticed is uh, the drinking water. They, I never saw really how they got drinking water. Do they have a filter system? I don't know. Do they have boil the water? Perhaps. With their lack of modern tools, that's the most likely thing that they would do, because you cannot trust the drinking water, because you see in a movie some infected like splashing or washing themselves in the river. So, and even if an infected died in the river or fell in the river and died, then they would still infect. There's a big risk to get infected by water of the river. So don't drink directly out of the river, even though there is no industrial machinery going on that could pollute the water. Yeah, that's a big no-no, I would say. Uh, Also, one thing is avoid walking at night, because these infected, from the moment they hear something, they come after you, and you want to see them. Uh, you want to see, hear them. You want to even smell them. So, any advantages during the night? Always look for a safe hideout and don't make a noise. Uh, Another thing that I saw is they often would sleep in buildings, and they usually go to the second part of the second floor of the building, or in the attic or something like that. And one time they slept just in a church, which was very odd to me because of their own experiences. So yeah, if you're going to sleep, it should be on a place where infected cannot find you even by accident. Even if you make a noise, you cannot risk it. Even if you don't make a noise, you cannot risk it. So there are several things you can do. For example, finding an attic. So have a way to get into the attic. So one of the ways that you can do it, in my opinion, is because a lot of these attics will not have ladders, and you can help each other boosting up till to get to hurry up. But if you're alone, then you're fucked. So a thing that ninjas in the ancient Japan would do is they would climb over a wall that is a little bit higher. They can use a stick or their sword and use some part of it to boost them up, or to like a hook. climb up, you get into an attic like that. So that's another reason why a spear would be a good weapon in that regard, to use it as a tool to climb higher up to escape and evade these infected. Uh, Another thing that I noticed, and this is something that I find very good, they were traveling very light. So I carry actually what they carry in the movie. They carried a quiller with some arrows, and they only had a shoulder sling backpack and some water bottles on their side. So that is very good, because if you are too heavy loaded, yeah, and they're running behind you, you will not get far, and you will be slower than these adrenaline fueled infected. So that was a very good thing from the movie. We will talk about the gear specific very later on. Uh, so what was not, ah yeah, I was at the point of one of the characters, the doctor, used a some blowpipe with some poisoned arrows that had some um, not not a poison, but it was like uh, yeah, not tranquilizer. It was sort of between tranquilizer and poison, that they shoot some arrows and it was had direct effect. That is actually a very good weapon, and if you have more of these, that would be even more effective than the bow, in my opinion. So they could implement this in combined arms with blowpipes, bows for longer distance, and a spear for close distance. That would be a perfect combined arms situation. Uh, Another thing is, the base camp that they had is very good. It's an island that is still reachable at certain parts of the day, because the tide of the water goes up and down, and then there is a road visible and not visible. And yeah, it will slow infected down enough so you can pick them off with arrows. It is a closed off community, but what I did not like is that they have only had one wall of defense around them. So the moment one person gets infected, the camp is screwed, so to say. So at least at the point of entrance, you can have some sort of, if infected coming, you want either a choke point, or you want to have a so-called dinner bell. So a dinner bell means that there is a place you want that the infected would gather and they get drawn to, instead of going around the structure. So I would at least have, in a movie they had some sort of barbed wire, which is very good, because this barbed wire was in a chaotic concertina kind of wire, and that is very good, because if these rage infected try to get through it, they will cut themselves open and they will kill themselves that way. But they did not have this uh, in front of the, how do you say this, the gate, so to say. So this could either be a choke point where you want a dinner bell where they can gather, and you can shoot from three directions up front and both sides. But in a movie it's not that visible, because yeah, it went in the dark, it was happened in the dark, so it's a little bit hard to detect. And they even had guard towers, so that was very good. um, so another thing that I noticed is, the only contamination procedures that they showed, perhaps they have more, but the only that they showed is that they wait before they let somebody in by the time they get infected. But yeah, from the moment somebody would get inside and had a small wound and some blood of an infected mix, they get infected, start to turn, and they can go wild. So anybody who has been outside and goes in, should be going to a sort of quarantine room, where they can safely, without the risk that they will turn and go on a rampage. They will be in a closed off room within the gates, and they can take their clothes off and get those disinfected and wash their body at least. And that is something that they did not in the movie. They just waited like 10 seconds before they let the person in. Oh, even though they were just almost touched by the alpha. We're going to talk about the alphas later on. All right. Yeah, you know what? Let's talk about the alphas. So the alphas are a type of zombie who are more bigger, stronger, have more intelligence and they are more of the hunter predator type, and instead of the normally infected who just are just common infected, and they are perhaps a little bit less more dumber and they more animalistic, so to say. So they're more simpler. And then you have the bottom feeders, I think they called ground feeders. Those are just zombies who just crawl around and eat worms that they find on the ground, but they are still a danger if they hunt after you. So yeah, the alphas are very dangerous. So how I would get this risk down is don't go in only pairs of two. uh, I would say go from time to time in your surroundings on a sort of hunting party extermination rate, so to say. So that way you can just go close to your base, but still going out in the area and just go with bows and with spears and just look around and try to hunt these zombies and retreat. And if you do this on a regular basis, you will either your people will get experience, and they will get kill more and more zombies off that will become more safely later on, or for in the case that zombies infected from other parts in the country will get into this area. So at least you will try to exterminate as much as you can in a more safe way, in a group way, and do it during the daytime. And if night comes close, you will retreat back to your safe place. So yeah, that way you will avoid that there will be big herds growing with under the wing of one alpha and attack in a more sophisticated way, led by the alphas onto your base. So yeah, extermination and hunting parties I would advise. Um, the other thing is observe more of this behavior, because they know what an alpha is, but they don't really know much about. They only know that they are very fucking dangerous, so to say. So I would say observe to see how many of each type of zombie infected are there. How many alphas for each square mile or kilometer, or how many there are for each kind of infected. So you can make an estimate from if you go into this area, there will be a likelihood of X amount of alphas that will get inside. Um, all right. Uh, all right. The good point that I had in this movie was the father is going to, when the boy was of age, the father took the son on a sort of initiation ritual where they would kill some, get into the danger zones, the wasteland, no man's land, so to say, and kill some infected. And that is a very good thing. So you will is like like I said, an initiation ritual where the boy will start to learn to get over his fears and get more experience with killing infected if they need to. So that's a very good thing, and in my opinion, we need something like this in now in the Western world, because we don't have any type of initiation ritual, and that would be help our children become adults who can be more self-sufficient. It used to be that you had to go to the army, like conscript, 1 to 2 years till 1992, I think, here in Belgium. But that was kind of the initial, sorry, initiation ritual that we had. But now we don't have those. So many people never learn to know themselves, so to say. Another thing is when is something that was never mentioned, but birds, rats, insects, flies, mosquitoes, they probably will bite the corpses or the living infected, and they can carry the disease that way. But in a movie, it's never been talked or showed before. So imagine if you're just being bitten by a mosquito that also fed on an infected nearby. That would be the worst case scenario, but in a movie it's luckily not that, but in a real world that would be the biggest danger you could imagine. You could sit inside of your fortress, and one mosquito that have bitten and infected could infect you. So yeah, how you would deal with that, I don't think you can't without living in an underground bunker or something, or at least have some anti-mosquito spray or plants around you. But even then, it's very too risky, and you can't avoid it. Uh, all right. So another thing that I want to talk about before we talk about the gear is one thing that I hated in this movie was the kids. There was this scene where an infected female that was pregnant gave birth to a baby that did not seem infected. I don't even know if they are just symptomatic, or how do you say this, that they don't show symptoms. But the thing was, the kid put the baby at before he left with his mother. He put the baby, uh, no, not with his mother. He put the baby at the gates. But the problem is, now the community in this fortress is fucked, because he only read take care of, what was the name of the baby? I don't know anymore. But they don't know that the baby is infected. It's not on the card. They don't know. It doesn't show symptoms, and they haven't checked his blood work that they are perhaps the carrier of a dormant virus. But yeah, the moment this baby will cough, sneeze, bite, or kiss someone, it the community is just wiped out. So we saw this in 28 weeks later, that that one of the boys was did not show symptoms after he was bitten, but he could still infect somebody else there in Paris. So yeah, don't do that. All right. Excuse me. Yeah, I needed to come out. All right. Another thing is what I don't like about the Swedish soldiers who got swarmed on shore is that they use automatic fire. I hate it in movies when they use automatic fire, because yeah, they almost don't aim, and you're just wasting so many bullets on, and they did not stay in formation because they were in a panic. So first of all, don't panic, stay in formation. If one reloads, the other shoots, single shots, and that way, even if they are 100 infected with a squadron, you have still at least 30 times at least 210 bullets at ready to shoot them, or at least incapacitate them. So yeah, that's something that I really hated when I saw those Swedish soldiers just firing automatic. I hate it when I see it in the movies. Uh, all right, so let's talk about the gear of the father, and that's something that I find interesting. If you look at pictures of the father's gear, he wore something like I do now, but in red, in dark red. But if you look very closely, you see a patch on his shoulder that said London Fire Brigade. So what he was wearing was uh, firefighting clothing. So it's something that infected will not bite through, because it can protect against sharp objects and against fire. So that's very good, a very good detail that from the movie maker. So very good, and it's something that you would scavenge, and it would be able to last for a very long time. Another thing that I saw is he wore a whistle on his. That was probably part of the firefighting uniform, but what I found interesting is, if you, how do you say this, if you have this whistle and you lose somebody, you can either whistle and communicate that way with other parties, or you can, it's like a dinner bell if you would want to make a diversion for his son. So that's a nice little detail in a world where technology like walkie-talkies is almost not existent anymore. Another thing that I saw is, and this is something that I like, I will show you. They don't have, in the movies. They always seem to have infinite arrows, like Legolas from Lord of the Rings. But as you can see, I've been making my own arrows lately from just materials that I just have laying around, and it's very hard to make these arrows, but it's something that would be possible, and that's also the reason that they don't have money. I counted that they each have about 6 arrows available, perhaps more in the beginning, but usually I saw 6 arrows stuck in their things. So that means they can only shoot 12 infected, and even if they shot an infected, they must retrieve it from the bodies or make new ones. So they probably retrieve it, and there is a chance that you will get infected if you touch it in the wrong way or accidentally stab yourself while putting it back perhaps. So that's something that they need to work carefully about. They wore jeans, and also like me here, the son wore cargo pants. So you can carry a lot of gear in that without having to have something about you self. They wore a water bottle. The son wore it in his jacket itself, and the father wore it on his side. And they only had a backpack like this, like a sling backpack that goes over. And yeah, I don't know why, but it's an interesting story. Perhaps it's because it's easier to shoot a bow when one side is more um, freely with your shoulder. So that could be very interesting, technique if this is the case. I don't know. Another thing that they had was they had boots, and yeah, that's all the gear that they wore. Water, perhaps in their canvas bags they had some food, or they had to find the food on the way, or they were not that long away. So yeah, that's actually some nice details. And now I will show you I will test some techniques to show you how difficult it would be. In a movie, they were like Robin Hood. Every arrow hit, every arrow was a kill shot, and yeah, there are a lot of arrows that are not like this. These usually meant that you will cut some blood vessels and they will bleed out, or you have to hit something like uh, like a joint or a kill shot in the heart or directly in the neck, that they will bleed out within a minute. But still, it's very risky that way, and that's something that I didn't like in a movie. An arrow is not usually not deadly. If you see this saint that was shot with like 20 arrows before he died, then you will know what I mean by that. I will have to I will show you now, because I will have to stop the video to do the magic of editing to show you some of these techniques, and also with the blowpipe to see how well it will work, because I'm running out of memory. So in the next scene you will see some interesting techniques. So here we are, we're going to test out the blowpipe and we'll see how many circles we can hit. I'm going to hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm going to try to hit 8 of the circles in a certain amount of time. This will be more easier because the darts are on the blowpipe itself. But if you have one of these with a poison that works so fast directly, yeah, we'll see how many zombies you would take out from a distance. So let's see. Alright, let's start. There we go. We fired off 8 shots, and let's see how well we did. So we shot 8 shots within 20 seconds talking in within 40 seconds, and we shot one hit, center, hit, a little bit off but still good, center, center, center. So yeah, perhaps you can see it better like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So yeah, that's pretty decent. And if this poison works as fast as in the movie that the doctor used, this would be a formidable weapon against the infected, and you can just, while they are dozed off, you can stab them down or shoot them from a distance if you have arrows enough. So this would be like the machine gun in the world of 28 years later, where they, if you don't have a machine gun, so to say. So yeah, this would be an excellent weapon. So yeah, let's try out with with my homemade arrows with the longbow and see how many we shoot off. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I think I have 5 arrows. So let's see how many we will hit in center. We will imagine that the center is always the infected. So in the next scene you will see it. So here we are with the test of the longbow. And as you can see, I will have 2 types of arrows. If you can see, this one is more like a point, and this one is more like with razors sharp arrow point. So usually this will not be usually not that direct deadly like in the movies, but yeah, I'm working with what I got right now. So this would be a very minor point, but let's see how difficult it will be, and I will step closer to the target to make it, how do you say this? They imagine that they are coming closer, so um, I will step closer to make it to reenact that. So let's see. So let's see what we did. So as you can see, this was my first shot, and this one was with the sharp edge, and this was the first shot. And the first shot usually with a longbow, and yeah, like I said before, in this movie they use what they have. They don't have compound bows, they don't have recurve bows with glued parts together. This is a longbow, and with longbow you either have to train a lot and you shoot on feeling and experience. So if you suddenly have to shoot as fast as you can, you will make mistakes. That's the reason why the first shot went up. The second shot is like a cannon, you aimed in and you know where your target is, and that's the reason why these are more in the center of the target. And let's see if this was a real infected. Let's see how deep they went. So it would, in a soft target, would went this deep. So imagine if it would hit bone, it would not go that deep. So yeah, see this one on this deep. Yeah, that is to show you that even with a longbow with a lot of power, that is like 50 pounds, I think it has. Even then, you will, and also to be honest, it is a little bit thicker because of the way that I made it, and this is perhaps not directly a kill shot in an organ. So all the people out who have never shot a bow or never hunted with a bow, it's not that easy as it's made in the movies. Never believe what they show you in the movies. This one even didn't went this deep, even though there was nothing in the way. So that was just bad luck. And this one went like this deep in. So yeah, like I said, the bow is not, in the movie it seems the best weapon, but in my opinion, the dart pipe, blowgun, I think it's called, no, blowpipe, is the best weapon in the whole movie. Perhaps, like I said before, with the spear, if you have a last resort and you don't want to perhaps, how do you say this, get close but still want to kill, you can perhaps try to do some throw spear. Let's do this for shits and giggles and see how well it would aim. I don't have much experience with this, so be respectful of my inexperience with throwing spears. Yeah, that was kind of a bust, but imagine if it was a rage infected going at you. Let's try one more just for shits and giggles. So yeah, yeah, this would have been a little bit more better, but yeah, like I said before, in a real situation with the 28 years later universe, it would be more difficult because you're scared, you're stressed, you're hungry, you're thirsty, you're cold, you're out, your surrounding is perhaps dangerous, you are perhaps surrounded, yeah, all this kind of stuff would make this 100 times more difficult, and that is something that you don't see in the movies, and also not often in this kind of movie, in this kind of YouTube clips where where they make how to survive this movie or this movie. So yeah, that's something that you need to take in account, and even for the real life, if you think about it. So yeah, if you, the viewer, have any ideas what you would do in the 28 years later universe with the means that they have, that they show in the movies, and nothing special that would be manufactured or cannot be scavenged after 28 years later, yeah, please let me know. I'm always interested in learning other people's techniques, thoughts, and these thoughts are not only for fun and for shits and giggles, but they can also learn us how to think in in for real situations, and perhaps help us in that way while playing, I would say. So I would say like, subscribe, all that good stuff, and see you in the next video. So cheers, and if the rage zombies come, well, that's that sucks. Sorry, I don't have anything poetic to say at the end, but I would say just don't worry too much. If things happen, things will happen, and just see it like a game where the longer you survive, the more points you earn. So yeah, I've been ranting enough. So see you in the next video. Cheers.